recognise some of the names. So I know some of you have been before, so thanks a lot for coming again. Obviously, we're going to be discussing the Windsor Framework and the regulatory impact to your marketed products. There are a few updates if you've joined before, though. I'm Leah Heathman. I'm the Managing Director at Fusion Pharma and very pleased to be presenting today. It always takes a moment to do the first slide. There we go. So just one slide about who we are, in case you don't already know. We're a regulatory affairs consultancy and offer expert advice and services to our clients. But we also provide a lot of regulatory updates to our followers on our website, on LinkedIn and our newsletter, all of which you can read and sign up to online. The team has collectively over 100 years experience in UK and EU regulatory, and we've worked on many Brexit-related projects. So this is actually our 7th Windsor Framework webinar. If you've attended one before, we will be going through largely the same content, but there are a few key updates as well. As a reminder, anyone attending, you'll receive a copy of this recording, a copy of the presentation that we go through, and also a Q&A document that we'll use to, we'll collate all of the questions throughout the presentation, and then we'll answer them and send it out together with the presentation. So do ask any questions as we go through. So this list I won't read out, but this is what we're going to go through today. So it's always useful to just start with a quick recap on how we got here, as it's important to understand that background that has led to the Windsor Framework being announced. So in 2016, Brexit was initiated. We voted to leave the EU collectively. Maybe not individually, and formally left in 2020, and the transition period started. So it's been going on for quite some time now. In 2021, the transition period ended and EU law no longer applied to Great Britain, but did continue to apply to Northern Ireland, and that was because of the Northern Ireland Protocol that was put in place. Throughout 2021 to 2023, companies worked hard to align to the new guidance and requirements, resulting in many artwork updates and shared pack changes. And then in early 2023, the MHRA announced the Windsor Framework. So this actually replaces the Northern Ireland Protocol, and it's also just useful to note that the scope of both the protocol and the framework are actually wider than just medicine, and it affects all trade. So let's now jump into how it's going to impact you. So let's start by looking at the measures that are going to be implemented from the 1st of Jan, obviously just around the corner now. This is just from a regulatory perspective. There are other implications for quality, batch release, and supply chain. But these are just the regulatory changes here, or implications. So all new medicines for the UK market will be authorised by the MHRA only. The outer packaging must state UK only and can only be distributed and sold within the UK. FMD will now no longer apply to Northern Ireland, but the anti-tamper devices should remain on the packaging. So these measures are commencing 1st of Jan, but there was work to be done up front. There probably still is as well. If you have left it until now to review the impact and update your artwork, you may find that you come up against some issues. So do get in contact if this is the case. In terms of the actual marketing authorisations, these are summarised here in terms of the impact, and the type of license does impact the activity required. So in summary, all new medicines going to be authorised by the MHRA, they will have the prefix of PL and will be UK-wide. PLGB licenses will automatically become UK-wide, but the prefix won't change to PL, just the region for which it applies to will change. There are lots of rumours going around that this is going to change. I don't believe anything's been announced just yet, so just watch for that announcement coming. I don't believe it will be a repeat of the Windsor Framework though, so I don't think it's anything to worry about. Companies can no longer hold both a PLGB and a PLNI, and we'll talk more about that later. You can actually, though, continue to apply for a PLNI, but that's through the MRDC procedure. That will only be valid in Northern Ireland. And those Northern Ireland licenses that are currently part of the centralised procedure are going to be automatically withdrawn. There's actually no action for you there. And existing UK-wide licenses that were granted through MRDC and are still in that procedure, you can remain part of that procedure unless, of course, the MHRA have specifically asked for changes to the UK text, at which point you'll need to withdraw. So this is the submissions requirement. So it's quite a busy slide, but it is important. So during the summer, the MHRA communicated that only 20% of submissions had been made. I do hope this has obviously increased by now. However, they have recently requested that the DHSC questionnaire was completed again by the 9th of December, suggesting that there may be a reasonable amount outstanding. This is a snapshot of the key information, and I strongly advise that you refer to this alongside the MHRA guidance. All links are included at the end. But my main message here is with implementation on the 1st of Jan. If you have manufacturing runs planned within the next 6 months, you really ought to have made your submissions and planned your artwork by the end of 2024. We do have a lot to get through today, so I'm going to assume that you've made your submissions and you don't need to know a lot of the details from this slide, but all the key information is there. I did want to mention stickering on the right, since my advice was always throughout 2023 and 24 to just don't do stickering, because it's actually more work overall. But if you are only just starting out, my advice now would be to definitely consider stickering. You may just have to resort to that. And then finally on this slide, if you've got both a PLNI and a PLGB for the same product, you should have already sent a request to the MHRA to cancel your PLNI. It's actually due by the 30th of September. So if you haven't done that, I'm sure the MHRA will still accept a request, but just don't leave it any longer. Because if you don't do it, the MHRA will actually cancel your PLGB and not your PLNI. Okay, so in terms of implementation, so just a reminder really that the MHRA guidance states that all outer packaging must state UK only and can only be distributed and sold within the UK. One of the main questions that was raised throughout 2023 into 24 was, can the updates be implemented before the 1st of Jan 25? So this was actually a really important part of project planning. So you could avoid micromanaging the updates across lots of different products, but also to ensure that supply was continued across all markets. This is obviously less important now. There's only 3 weeks or whatever until the end of the year. So from an operational perspective, it's less important, but I would say from a compliance perspective, it is still important for quality to maintain that oversight and to understand when things were implemented and what whether that was early implementation and the reason as to why that was possible. We do have another webinar aimed at quality and QPs. The link is here on this page. If you do want to understand that more, obviously reach out if you've got any questions on implementation. So yeah, I won't go through this slide now as it's very nearly irrelevant, but it is here obviously if you need it. Okay, so in terms of managing shared packs, this is still something that is ongoing, really. So from the 1st of Jan, you won't be able to share outer packaging with another market in the EU. They won't be able to share it with the UK either. The HPRA and EMA's position is also that shared packs are no longer possible. However, there will be existing shared packs, and the HPRA and EMA have both given huge flexibility of when those existing shared packs should be updated. So it's important that quality, supply chain, everyone understands this, because this is going to help you to manage your workload going forward. The main message really is for quality and QPs that after the 1st of Jan 2025, you can still continue to release those shared packs. You'll probably find it's something like Ireland and Northern Ireland, for example, but there are many other examples too. So you can still release those shared packs to the EU, but you just can't distribute them to UK, and that includes Northern Ireland as well. So that's after the 1st of Jan. So that was really important flexibility, but probably more just important for everyone to understand this now, and for you to be able to look back and understand that that whatever you did was compliant. Take some water. Check how I'm doing for time, because I've added some more slides. I want to get through them all. So FMD, so yeah, this is really important as well. Lots of really important things. So really important you understand who actually has direct responsibility for applying FMD in your company or in your manufacturing site if they are not part of your company as well. It's not typically regulatory, so I really hope that you've obviously been in contact with them already to make sure that this is all in the change control, all in their processes, and that they're able to capture this change in time for the 1st of Jan. So FMD at the moment doesn't apply to GB, but from the 1st of Jan, it's going to extend to include Northern Ireland. Until that point, any products going to Northern Ireland must continue to apply FMD. So you've got a few more weeks of this. From the 1st of Jan, UK companies, you can still retain your 2D barcode on the packaging, but you cannot encode it with a unique identifier that is compliant with FMD and has been uploaded to EMVS. The UK access to this is actually going to be switched off, so it shouldn't be possible in theory for it to be uploaded. But if you are aware that it has been accidentally uploaded or you suspect, it must be reported. And the MHRA do have guidance on who that needs to be reported to, but it should be immediate. So going forward, you can continue to use the 2D barcode. You can still encode it with other data. You can still encode it with your own unique identifier. And you can also remove it if you want to, but I would avoid that if possible, because the MHRA may announce obviously their own FMD equivalent at some point, maybe some point soon, and you can also use it for other data as well. So in terms of supplying of existing stock, again, this was really important part of the project planning, and it's important that supply chain and quality and QPs understand all of this as well. It will definitely need to be documented in your change control and recorded, when things were implemented, and it will be different for every single product and every single product type, or I should say license type. But it's important to understand that the territory for which the stock was QP released to prior to the 1st of Jan continues to apply for those products. So UK-wide PL products can continue to still be supplied UK-wide, PLNIs can still only be supplied to Northern Ireland, and PLGBs can be supplied to can only be supplied to Great Britain unless you did update it early, and that stock already had UK only on the pack, or it was on the NIMAR list. So just a point on the NIMAR. This route is still actually going to be available and in place following 1st of Jan 2025. In theory, if you've done everything, you shouldn't need to use it. However, it is still available in law. And if you do need to take advantage of that, if you've got some circumstances, I think that the MHRA would definitely be offering this if you haven't been able to update some of your packs in time, as long as there's good reason and just not because you just didn't get around to it. So do bear that in mind, and there's a link here as well to some webinars that Lorraine's done on this on our website. And yeah, excuse me, just a note on shared packs. They can still continue to be supplied to the market that they were released for as well. Okay. Health authority flexibilities. Most of this slide is just a recap and pulling together everything from previous slides. So I'm not going to go through that. But obviously I hope that everyone has taken advantage of flexibilities that have been available to them. I wanted to spend a bit more time on some new slides. So one of them is this one, the impact to pharmacovigilance. So the MHRA has been fairly late, unfortunately, to announce this impact for PV. We do have a blog on this topic, which delves into it in much more detail than we'll go through now, as it's huge. You can click on this image when you receive a copy of this presentation, and it'll take you straight to that blog. Or if you can't wait and you need to see it after this presentation, then it is on our website. So in summary, you, or more so PV, are going to need to understand the license type before planning any of the changes, since this is what determines the impact. The Windsor Framework changes cover only those products that fall under the mandatory scope of the centralised procedure. And the MHRA have tried to be helpful and split all products into two categories. You'll need to read the guidance to appreciate all the nuances, and our blog nicely summarises all of this in a helpful table. So do definitely read that. And the MHRA have said that they will be sending a list of category 1 products out before the end of the year. But there are differences in the PV activities. So depending on your category, you will have potentially have some changes to make in your processes. So do read through all those areas. Yeah, read through the guidance, read through the blog, and also we've got an exciting new collaboration with ADAMAS. ADAMAS are on this webinar as well. Hello. We have a collaboration with ADAMAS, who have PV experts that will be unpicking these changes with us, and we're going to be delivering a joint webinar soon on discussing these aspects in more detail. So you can register on our website, you can register here when you receive a copy, and we look forward to more Windsor Framework webinars in the new year. So moving on then to promotional materials, also quite late in the day to be releasing best practice guidance. This was the PMCPA. In summary, if your prescribing information and your promotional materials contain a license number which is no longer applicable for that region, it needs to be updated. Only if your prescribing information, your PI and materials are otherwise accurate, and the MAH can be contacted from the address on the materials. There is a grace period granted until the end of 2025 to update those materials, but you must update them at the next opportunity. That is part of the criteria for allowing that grace period. Additionally, in some circumstances, companies may have GB or NI only MA. If this is the case, these need to be updated with the statement in that last bullet point there, that it's for GB or NI health professionals only. It may be that you already have it in there. If not, then you do need to update that. Okay, so project planning. Obviously, I really hope that no one is just starting off their plans, the Windsor Framework project. If you are, then you really do need to reach out to us, and we will talk you through everything that needs to be done. This slide used to be basically a project plan or ideas for a project plan. However, I've now turned this slide into a list of everything that you should have already done. I won't read it all out now, but if you have done everything on here, then there is a good chance that you have avoided being out of stock, and you shouldn't expect large write-off costs. If that's not the case, if you have done everything and you're still potentially going to be out of stock for whatever reason, because every company's different, or even large write-off costs as well, then do reach out to the MHRA or reach out to us. We can have a chat about that, about how to frame that in discussion with the MHRA, because I do believe that they will be flexible and that they will offer some potential solutions on how to avoid that. Please don't just assume that it has to happen. So the fund doesn't end at the end of the year on the 1st of Jan, I should say. There is still more work that needs to be done. So this is kind of what should be pending in your project plan, and perhaps there's some new things that need to be added with the latest announcements on PV and promotional material as well. So obviously the first thing is you've got to make sure that you are ready for implementation for the next batch release after 2025. That work should already have been done, and hopefully this is all happening in the background. You need to plan your updates to any shared packs. Obviously, that's the outer packs. You can continue to share inner packaging if that is possible for your product. You may need to update your SOPs to ensure that UK only is always going to be included on any new products coming through. You also, if you took advantage of some of the flexibilities that the MHRA were offering with regards to submitting without an ECSD and without fully updated mock-ups, then you will have more actions to do for that. So make sure you plan that in. You will also have to look at the PV implications. So definitely, don't do that on your own. Meet with PV and plan any impact to ways of working, ways of recording, communicating, etc. And that will be locally and globally. And obviously register your interest on our joint PV webinar for that. Your prescribing information and your promotional material updates need to be required. You're going to have to review those first to make sure you fit the criteria to be able to use the grace period. And if you do need to update them, get on with that. I think you need to do that by the 15th of January. Otherwise, if you're going to take advantage of the grace period, and you can, then you still need to plan it a year. It is really not a long time, especially if you've got other updates ongoing. And just make sure that internally you're communicating this. Material updates actually quite onerous on lots of different departments, not just on regulatory. So there's a fair amount of work and money involved in that to make sure that you're communicating that where relevant. And you need to decommission all your Northern Ireland licenses. So again, there's no action for centralised procedure. That will happen automatically. You may have decided to withdraw from MRDC. I know some have, just because they have. They didn't need to, but that may be something that you've done or your company decided to. You will have actions there if that's what you've decided. Update all your regulatory records. Can you imagine joining, if you're a graduate after all this has gone through, and then you come into regulatory and then looking back, just looking at what on earth happened and why. Just make sure that all your records are up to date, and archiving everything, and that there's file notes if needed, change controls, etc. And read through Data Farm's guidance on EMC Northern Ireland. They've got a web page on this. It's very useful, so have a look. There's a link there. Right, I'm nearly done. A few more slides left. So it is infuriating, but I do think that this pain will actually mean that we've got long-term benefits. It's going to reduce complexity after this period for sure. Again, really important that the MHRA and DHSE do want to know if there are issues of implementing, so reach out to them if you need to. Continue your regulatory intelligence. There's some ideas there how to do that. This slide is all the notes to everything that we have used, and this slide is just how you can reach out to us, and a reminder that always to read the guidance. It can change, and also if you think that you'd benefit from a discussion with us, we offer a free 30-minute consultation, fully confidential. Just reach out and we'll book it all in. So that just leaves me with one more very important message, which is Merry Christmas. I hope that you have a wonderful break, and a really great new year for you and your family into 2025, from all of us at Fusion Pharma. And hopefully see more of you.